The Haunting of Ravenwood Manor. The Night the Maniac Came Home. Chapter 1. The Return. Ravenwood Manor had stood silent for decades, an ominous silhouette against the night sky. Its Gothic towers and shattered windows spoke of long-forgotten grandeur, now cloaked in dust and decay. Tonight, however, the manor was about to awaken from its slumber. Ethan Marlowe, a renowned journalist with a taste for the macabre, had always been drawn to the supernatural. When he received a cryptic letter hinting at a long-buried secret within the manor's walls, his curiosity outweighed his sense of caution. Armed with his camera and an insatiable hunger for truth, Ethan drove through the encroaching darkness to the estate that had become infamous in local legend. As the headlights of his car cut through the fog, the manor loomed larger, its once majestic facade now a grotesque visage. Ethan parked at the iron gates, their rusted chains clinking ominously. He pushed them open, their screech slicing through the night. The path leading to the entrance was overgrown, the weeds seeming to reach out like skeletal fingers. The manor's front door, barely hanging on its hinges, creaked loudly as Ethan pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of mildew and neglect. His flashlight's beam danced over faded wallpaper, cracked ceilings, and cobweb-laden chandeliers. Ethan's pulse quickened with every step, anticipation mingling with dread. Chapter 2. Echoes of the Past. In the heart of the manor, Ethan discovered an old study, its wooden panels darkened with age. The walls were lined with dusty bookshelves and yellowed newspapers. On a large oak desk lay an array of documents, some partially burned, others covered in cryptic symbols. Among the papers, Ethan found a journal, its leather cover cracked and worn. Opening it, he began to read the scrawled notes. The journal belonged to Alastair Ravenwood, the manor's original owner. His entries were filled with paranoia and fear, hinting at a malevolent force that had consumed his family. The last entry, written in a shaky hand, read, "The darkness is coming for me. I can hear it." The power suddenly flickered and went out, plunging Ethan into darkness. His flashlight sputtered and died. Panic surged as he fumbled with the batteries, but when the light flickered back on, something was different. The atmosphere in the room had changed. It felt charged, oppressive. Ethan turned back to the desk, but the journal was missing. His breath quickened as he glanced around, the shadows seeming to stretch and writhe. His instincts screamed at him to leave, but the pull of the mystery kept him rooted. Chapter 3. The First Night. Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan set up his recording equipment and prepared to spend the night. He wandered through the manor, documenting his surroundings. In one room, he discovered a portrait of Alastair Ravenwood. His eyes seemed to follow Ethan, their gaze filled with unspoken terror. As midnight approached, Ethan heard soft whispers echoing through the manor. He couldn't discern the words, but the voices were growing louder. The temperature dropped abruptly, and a cold draft swept through the hallways. His breath formed visible puffs in the frigid air. Then, Ethan saw it, a fleeting shadow darting past the corner of his eye. He followed it, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The shadow led him to a hidden door in the cellar, its edges covered in grime. With a deep breath, Ethan pushed it open. Inside, he found an old ritual chamber, its floor covered in dried blood and strange symbols carved into the stone walls. At the center of the room was a pentagram, its points marked with what appeared to be remnants of a long-forgotten ritual. A sense of malevolence hung heavily in the air, making Ethan's skin crawl. Chapter 4. The Maniac's Trail. As Ethan examined the chamber, he discovered a series of old photographs pinned to the wall, pictures of people with their faces scratched out, their eyes wide with fear. Among the photos was one of a man with a twisted grin, his eyes glowing with a predatory gleam. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. The man was unmistakably familiar. The journal had mentioned a maniac, a madman who had been tied to the manor's dark history. Ethan realized the man in the photograph was the same person. According to local legends, this maniac had been a member of Ravenwood's household, driven mad by the manor's dark influence and responsible for the deaths of countless victims. Ethan's investigation was interrupted by a loud bang from upstairs. He rushed back to the main hall, his heart pounding. The manor was eerily quiet, and he could feel the presence of something sinister lurking just beyond his sight. Chapter 5: The Confrontation. Ethan's search led him to the manor's attic, a dusty space filled with broken furniture and cobwebs. As he sifted through the debris, he stumbled upon a hidden compartment. Inside, he found a small chest, its lock rusted but still intact. With trembling hands, Ethan opened the chest. Inside was a collection of items, jewelry, a blood-stained knife, and a small box containing a vial of dark liquid. The vial's label read, "Elixir of Eternity." According to the journal, it was a potion used in the ritual to summon the darkness. The temperature in the attic plummeted. Ethan's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent. Ethan felt a cold breath on his neck, and a dark figure materialized from the shadows. The maniac stood before him, his eyes burning with madness. The figure lunged, and Ethan barely managed to dodge. He stumbled backward, knocking over an old lamp that shattered on the floor. The manor's atmosphere grew heavier, the darkness closing in around him. Chapter 6: The Final Secret. Ethan fought to keep his composure. He grabbed the vial and, in a desperate move, hurled it at the maniac. The vial shattered, and the dark liquid seeped into the floorboards. The shadows recoiled as if in pain, and the maniac screamed in rage. The entity, once bound by the ritual, seemed to be released by the broken vial. The maniac's figure flickered and began to dissolve into the darkness. With one last, haunting scream, he vanished, leaving only an echo of terror in his wake. The manor fell silent. Ethan, exhausted and shaken, made his way back to the entrance. As he stepped outside, the first light of dawn broke through the clouds. The manor seemed to sigh in relief, its dark history momentarily at rest. Ethan's footage revealed the horrors he had encountered, but the true nature of the manor's curse remained a mystery. The Ravenwood Manor was now a place of legend, its story a chilling reminder of the darkness that once lurked within its walls. Epilogue: The Unseen Presence. Months later, as Ethan reviewed his footage, he noticed something unsettling. In the corners of the recordings, dark shapes could be seen moving, ghostly figures that seemed to be watching him. The chilling realization dawned on him. The manor's curse had not been vanquished, and its shadows still lingered. Ethan knew that the story of Ravenwood Manor was far from over. The manor had claimed its secrets, and though he had uncovered some of them, the darkness was still very much alive. The manor stood, waiting for its next visitor, its mysteries far from resolved. And so, the legend of Ravenwood Manor continued, a haunting reminder of the evil that lurks just beyond the veil of the known, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to uncover its dark secrets.